you're going to pitch the brand on you. You're going to say, "Hi, I'm Amy Gorn. I am a plant-based registered dietitian, and I have this really amazing idea I want to run by you. And I think we'd work really well pulling this together and drawing in some new attention for your brand." A lot more traction is going to happen from you putting it out there that you're interested in working with the brand versus the brand coming to you. Hey everybody, it's Amy Gorn here, and I'm so excited to be here with you today for the second episode of the Master the Media podcast. So today we're going to be talking about multiple income streams, the importance of having more than one income stream for both peace of mind and just constant revenue influx, and how paid brand partnerships and media work fit into that. Before I dive in, I just want to make the announcement that we are hosting live Q&As tomorrow night, which is Tuesday, May 13th, and also the next night, Wednesday, May 14th. And we're going to be answering questions about how to work with paid brand partnerships and all your questions about that. So I encourage you to sign up. It's free. You can go to masterthemedia.co/Q&A. So that's masterthemedia.co/Q&A. If you're watching this episode or listening to this episode after May 13th or 14th, no worries. Go to that same URL and you'll be able to get the replay very, very easily. So I decided to make multiple income streams today's topic because some life events happened since I last talked to you. So as you may or may not know, I'm pregnant. And this is just so you know, I'm going to be sharing real stuff in this podcast. I don't really see how I could do this any other way. And my due date is July 25th. So today it is May 12th. And so I've had multiple complications. I was in the hospital last weekend for high blood pressure, officially diagnosed with gestational hypertension. And then I spent the last 4 days at the hospital because of a partial placental abruption, which you probably don't know what that means, or maybe you do, but that basically means that everything's fine as of now. But if it becomes more than that, then I would go into labor early. So, I spent the last 4 days in a hospital bed thinking, and I decided to make multiple income streams today's topic because really, I think I'd be freaking out a lot more than I am right now if it weren't for the fact that I don't need to worry about my income, for maternity leave or if I go into labor early. Hopefully that won't happen. And so the beauty of it, like when I used to work as a magazine editor, I had one income. I was working at health, I got that paycheck. I was working at prevention, I got that paycheck. And nowadays, one of the many, many reasons I love doing what I do, teaching other healthcare professionals how to get paid by, working with the media, how to get paid by working with brands, is because you create this honestly beautiful picture of not having to worry as much because you have a lot more insurance, and that comes with the multiple income streams that we're going to talk about today. And I want to make it clear that you can do this whether you're doing media and brand work full time, which honestly most people do not do. That's what I did, but that's not what most people do. Or you can do this if you're, working at a hospital or working at a private practice full time, and then these can be your additional income streams that you get on the side, and it just makes life more comfortable and more enjoyable. So that's what I want to talk about today. And the thing is, the income streams themselves, they can change over time. Mine certainly have. So I'm going to walk you through my income streams today. There are, say, 6 official income streams. Some are a lot larger than others. Like some are a couple $100s, some are hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so my first income stream is, so I don't know if you guys know, I have 2 brands. I have Master the Media, and then I have Plant-Based with Amy. Plant-Based with Amy is my nutrition business. I don't see patients, but I do run a blog. And so from that blog, I get ad revenue. So ads pop up on my website. I get paid by those. It comes out to, I'd say, a little bit less than 10,000 a year from ads, for me literally not doing a thing, just running my blog. I haven't even posted on my blog in probably a year. And some of these income streams I'm going to take a deeper dive into. And then, of course, I have Master the Media, which is my media training and certification business where I media train other healthcare professionals like you to get featured in the media and to get paid by brands. And so that is my largest income stream. And that yields hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And that income comes from mostly enrollment and coaching fees from my students. They enroll for 6 months of coaching. Sometimes they stay on for 2, 3, 4 rounds of that because we provide discounted rates past the initial 6 months. And then also of course, there's working with brands. And so the way that's looked over the years has changed. Initially I was working with brands through Plant Based with Amy as a nutrition spokesperson. I'm still doing a little bit of that. And that mostly was looking like, creating recipes for brands, being the talent at events where I was speaking on behalf of brands. I was the dietitian at a Breville event where we hosted it at Soul Cycle. And so there was a celebrity chef there, and then there was me to answer nutrition questions. Then other things that you can do working with brands include doing media interviews on their behalf. So like where you're on TV talking about their product and they pay you to do that. I've done that for Harvest Naps for NBC, for example. It's really, really fun. And so that income stream earns about $200,000 annually. These days, I'm working with brands mostly through Master the Media, where brands will sponsor things like our annual event in October, where we bring a bunch of brands together, a bunch of our community together and connect them. And a lot of our community members end up with paid brand partnerships with those brands that sponsor the events. So that's one way. And then the other income streams that I have are smaller. Smaller doesn't mean irrelevant. So I sell digital products on my nutrition website. So meal plans, recipe books, people can just download those and pay like $5, $10. I also sell through this other website called the Well-Resourced Dietitian. And someone named Megan Boitano runs that. And so I sell like the materials that I used to use when I had a private practice, like all the onboarding sheets, all the meal plans. From that alone, I probably earn about $1,000 a year. And then lastly, I don't really encourage doing affiliate partnerships, and that's going to be a whole nother episode entirely. There are some exceptions. And so for my blog, I work with Amazon affiliates and reward style affiliates, and those are probably on average about $75 to $100 a month. So like $1,000 a year. So anyway, those are my 6 income streams. They've changed over time. I used to have a really large income stream from writing for editorial outlets, like writing my Weight Watchers column, writing for Food Network, for example. I don't do that currently, but all that to say, your income streams can switch in and out over the years, and that's absolutely fine. It's just the beauty of having 6 income streams, 3 of mine being incredibly lucrative. And so if one of those income streams, like this past month for me selling digital products, I made $15 instead of $100. And that's okay because, what a lot of the other income streams ticked up. So that's something that, maybe you've thought about, maybe you haven't. One of my top reasons for why I love teaching about how to get into the space of working with media and brands, because having those income streams, and typically your income stream that you'll have from this line of work is going to be, writing for editorial outlets, which can pay, say you write an article for a website that you love reading, that can pay anywhere from $150 to $600. The range is pretty broad. And then also working with brands, which is where the bulk of this money is. That's why, I've earned over $200,000 annually every year since 2017, working with brands. And that first year, 2017, I earned $262,000 working with brands. And then I figured out that formula of how to make it recurrent. And those brand partnerships, sometimes you probably hear about a colleague or a peer who got $1,000 for an Instagram post that was sponsored by a brand, or, $1,500 for a blog post that was sponsored by a brand. And those numbers are fun. But what I do in Master the Media and what we're going to do on this podcast is I teach how to take those one-offs of $1,000, $2,000, and how to turn them into a really substantial amount of money. So $10,000, $50,000. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, because having an additional income stream that earns $3,000 versus an additional income stream that earns, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, obviously those are quite different situations. And having that larger amount of money gives you the flexibility for so many things. Like, we are planning to hire a night nanny to help when the baby comes, just so I can get some sleep. And that's in large part thanks to having these multiple income streams. So when you get to the point of you're talking to a brand about working in a paid capacity, and sometimes the brands will come to you. They might see you featured in the media. They might see, oh, you're a sports dietitian, or you're a physician who specializes in maternal health. And so we really, maybe the brand is a nursing product, or maybe the brand is a sports recovery product. And they'll reach out to you and ask, we're looking for new partners. Are you interested in partnering with us? Also, the more common way this happens is you're going to pitch the brand on you. You're going to say, hi, I'm Amy Gorin. I am a plant-based registered dietitian in the New York City area. And I have this really amazing idea I want to run by you. And I think we'd work really well, pulling this together and drawing in some new attention for your brand. And we'll talk a lot more about pitching in other episodes, but basically a lot more traction is going to happen from you putting it out there that you're interested in working with the brand versus the brand coming to you, but it can work both ways. And so what happens in either direction, if the brand says, okay, what would it cost to do 2 Instagram posts? Instead of saying, oh, well, I charge $1,500 for an Instagram post, so that would be $3,000 total. Instead of having that conversation and limiting yourself to that honestly small amount of money, what I always recommend doing is asking to get on a phone call with them or a Zoom call, and then talking through, what are your goals? What are you looking to achieve? who are you looking to reach? Is it consumers? Is it other healthcare professionals like me? Is it both? And then from there, you're kind of their unofficial consultant guide on how to achieve those goals. So if they say, well, we really want to get our product in front of more sports dietitians, then maybe what you come in with next is, well, I really think hosting a webinar where I use my community. I have a newsletter list of thousands of other healthcare practitioners, so I can get those people in the door. We can host a webinar together. You can reach out to your network, and then we can host this amazing webinar where we offer people, free samples in the webinar. We do some live prizes to get them to be excited about coming to the live event. And I use my network, not only my social media channels, but my newsletter list, and the Facebook groups that I'm in, to promote this live event. And that will get people excited. And then once we get those healthcare professionals on board, then we can pivot to looking at the consumer audience. And that's where, I think it would be really helpful if I write a blog post for your website about my experience with your product. I also can create a reel about my day in the life of using your product. And then you can see, like, you're giving the brand all of these ideas and all of this strategy. And all of a sudden that $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 brand partnership turns into, that all of those things together could be, $15,000, $20,000 or more. And that's how your income streams help build upon themselves, is all of a sudden you only need a handful of brands to work with to reach that additional 6 figures from that brand partnership income stream. So that's how it all works. But of course, as we've talked about, the first step of having that conversation with the brand, of creating that additional income stream, is getting in contact with the brand, grabbing their attention, drawing them in. And so the absolute best way, whether you're trying to get the brand to reach out to you or you want to reach out to the brand, the absolute best way to get their attention. And it's interesting because this strategy that, I'm teaching in 2025 is honestly very different than the strategy I was teaching even 1 or 2 years ago because the landscape has changed so much. But what I recommend today is really using your credentials to get featured in the media. And what I mean by that is, if there's an article in Eat This Not That or Eating Well or Forbes on the best plant-based snack products or the best marathon fueling products, getting quoted in those articles about your area of expertise. And then what you can do is a lot of times there's opportunities in these articles to mention the brands that you love. So one of the questions that the reporter asks might be, what are your top 3 to 5 recommendations for plant-based snacks? And so you might say, well, I love Hippies. I love Amy's Kitchen burritos. And, I love this other product. And you can decide, well, maybe you want to work with all 3 of those products, or you really want to work with one of them. But if you, give really good quotes about the product to the reporter, so you're like, well, I really love Amy's Kitchen burritos because they pack a lot of plant protein into, a smallish portion. They really keep me full. I feel really good about the ingredients. And then that article gets published in a major publication. Then what is very likely to happen is the brand will see that, or you can even bring their attention to it. You can send them an email and say, hey, I love your product so much. In fact, I just included it in this article I was quoted in for Eating Well. I have a lot of ideas about how I can use my expertise to draw attention or bring attention to your brand. Would you like to talk? And that way it's not just a blind pitch with something that's not going to stick, like, hey, I'm Amy, I'm a dietitian. I'd love to work with you. Can we talk? Like, they probably aren't going to respond to that. But if they see, wow, she loves our products so much that she got them featured in this major publication, and obviously that means she has quite a hefty reach and ability to tap into this large audience. These media outlets reach millions of people. We should really talk to her. That's how those conversations start. And that's how those partnerships start to exist and evolve. And so that's how a lot of my brand partnerships have happened, where I organically love a product. I'm asked about my recommendations all the time. And so it makes sense to mention the products I love. And then that actually did happen with Amy's Kitchen, where I included them in an article in US News about, dietitians' favorite frozen plant-based meals. I included one of their products because I have been eating them for like 20 something years. And I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, I'm guessing they saw that article, they reached out, and we've been working together since then. And so that's how a lot of these organic partnerships start, where you're getting paid by brands that you love and would recommend anyway to your friends, your family, your clients. But now you're getting paid for that, which is the beauty, right? You're not compromising your ethics to work with brands that you don't love, which you should never do, by the way. You're getting paid to do the same thing you'd be doing anyway. And that's what makes working with brands really, really fun, to be honest, and of course, lucrative. So, you can create that additional income stream. You don't need to have 6 income streams like I do. Even if you have your main gig, like let's say you're a private practice dietitian, and that's your main income stream. And then you decide, okay, I want to work with media. I want to write some articles for, say, Food Network and Everyday Health. And I mean, that's going to depend on a lot of factors. What media outlets need writers at the moment. And I also want to work with brands, and those can be your 3 income streams, where you have your private practice, you're writing for the media, and you're getting paid by brands to be a consultant and a spokesperson. And then all of a sudden, maybe you've even doubled your day income. So like maybe you bring in 6 figures from your private practice, and now you've doubled that with an additional 2. You have now 3 income streams. And so you can be a lot more comfortable and breathe a lot more and be a lot less affected by life stressors. Things are always going to stress us out. There's no way around that. But what I love about, working in this entrepreneurial space, helping other passionate healthcare professionals share their messages is we shouldn't be stressed as much as we are for the day-to-day stuff. If there's anything we can do to spread our health messages, help people, remember we're helping a lot of people all at once by sharing our messages in the media, by working with brands and communicating on their platforms, then we've really done our jobs. We've taken care of ourselves. We've created those additional income streams where we can feel more comfortable. And we're supporting millions of people, which is, that's why we all got into this field, is to help people. And so we're really making all of our goals come true.